Welcome back to my backyard wood pile. Today I'm throw out a video on this saw. This is a McCulloch Pro Mac 650. I've been on the lookout for one of these saws for quite a while. This thing came up for sale on Craigslist and I jumped on it pretty quick, being that the price was essentially free. I brought it home, set it up on the shelf. The guy that I got it from told me that it was a non-runner, hadn't been started in probably about 3 or 4 years. So as busy as I've been, I just haven't had time to dive into it. But with firewood season right around the corner, I thought, you know what, I'm gonna pull this thing off the shelf and see what's going on with it. Funny thing is I didn't really see any reason for it to not run. I had spark. Looked at the carburetor adjustments. They were not too far off from where they should be. Air cleaner was in pretty good shape. I just blew it out a little bit. So I put some fuel in it, and about 7th pull, this thing popped off for me. And so I put some bar oil in it, tried to sharpen the chain. The chain on this thing is just absolutely horrendous. There's not much chain left at all. So I hesitate even putting this thing in the wood today, because I know it's just not going to cut well. But I'm going to take you along for the ride. The carb is running all right. I think it needs a carb. I know it needs a carb kit. I've got it dialed in to where it'll idle fairly well. And it sounds decent and low in the high jet, but it's one of those issues where you just got it borderline adjusted, and there's not much else you can do. So I'm sure when I get it into the wood, it's probably not going to run as well as just sitting here idling on the stump. So anyway, I'll take you along for the ride, and I'll talk a little bit about the 650 after we do a few cuts with it, and kind of give you the what's what. Just got it running, so this is gonna be the first cuts with it, so we'll see what we got. I had this started earlier, so it should start on one pull. So that's the Pro Mac 650. Like I thought, it needs a new chain for sure. If you saw me through that cut, I was really babying the saw just to get it through. I really shouldn't even be cutting with this chain, but I knew if I leaned on it, it would not be good. But these 650s are solid saws. They don't come up a whole lot for sale. The 610s are dime a dozen, seems like. There's a lot of them. These saws were made in masses. So many of these 610s not as many 650s, but a lot of 610s. So if you get a chance to pick one of these up, they're a solid firewood saw. I would probably put them right there with the XL12. They made a ton of them, and they're just solid runners. These McCullochs, they just run and run. You can run them, abuse them, run them, abuse them, let them sit, and as long as they got gas in them, they're probably going to fire up for you and just keep working. The 650, like I said, is not as common as the 610. One of the defining factors on these, and it's kind of a head scratcher for me, is they usually come with a factory decomp valve right here. And you can see on mine, there is no decomp valve. There's a notation that I should push the decomp valve, but there's nothing to push. So that's a little bit of a head scratcher. Like I said, for me, I don't know if this thing was blown up and rebuilt, or if just at the tail end of production for this saw, they no longer put the factory decomp valve on there. If you guys have a 650 and you're watching this video and it doesn't have a decomp valve, let me know, will you? Because I'm just curious more than anything why mine doesn't have one. But like I said, that's typically one of the defining factors with one of these. 650s usually come with a pretty aggressive set of dogs like you see here. And they're hopped up from the factory. That's the main difference. McCulloch, I believe they ported these. And you can definitely tell on the wood, even though this thing was not cutting real well, I could tell that it was got a little bit more grunt to it. So I'm excited to get a chain on here that would actually cut and see what this saw will do. Like I said, the 650 is pretty much identical to the 610. If you had them next to each other, you probably wouldn't be able to tell the difference. The defining factor being that the 650 is hopped up from the factory, but they're both 60 cc's. And let me grab my 610, bring it out here, throw it up against the 650, I'll show you. So that's 610 and a 650 side by side. You can tell they're pretty much the same saw. Obviously one's got a 16-inch bar and the other one's got a 23-inch bar on it, but same saw. Like I said, these 610s are everywhere, it seems, and you can pick them up for relatively little to no money. 650s are a little bit rarer saw, like I said. So if you see either one of these and you like vintage saws and you cut a lot of firewood, pick one of them up. They're just solid runners. I can't say anything bad about them. Just a go-to saw, easy to work on. And like I said, you can pick them up for little to nothing. Typically run you $50 or less. So thanks for joining me today as I start working on this 650, get a new chain on it and get the carb dialed in. I'll probably throw out another video, but both these saws are solid. Happy to have this 650 in the lineup. It sounds good, and I'm sure it's gonna work for me for years to come. Thanks again for joining me, and I'll catch you on the next video.